I'm doing a giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can enter to win. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLuxGiven, and today we are celebrating 800 subscribers on YouTube, so I wanted to show off this really sweet game of Storybook Brawl 99 where I don't quite cast 800 spells. I cast about 300 by the end of this, but that still is going to make for some absolutely massive mages by the end of this thing. And we are playing Storybook Brawl 99 with Hoard Dragon, which is one of, if not the best hero in Storybook Brawl 99, because obviously, so much of Storybook Brawl 99 is dictated by those really powerful high-end treasures on Tier 6 and Tier 7, and Hoard Dragon just has the easiest access to those treasures. However, the other thing that Hoard Dragon can do is get Hat Ball easier than most heroes because you only need to find triples of Tier 2 units, which means that you are paying far less to find those level 3 treasures. And for both of those things, Hoard Dragon basically just does it all as far as Storybook Brawl 99 is concerned. You can find Hat and Ball, and you can also find the Tier 6 and Tier 7 treasures. Either of those avenues can win a lobby, and the fact that Hoard Dragon combines both of those things into one hero makes it a really strong pick. I wind up picking up the egg there and then sharding it because we could potentially find a pair of either the black cat or the goat. We wind up finding a pair of the mad mim to go along with our pair of baby roots here. You just want to pair as much as you can when you are playing the dragon, and honestly I think that this is a pretty good start for the hero despite taking a little bit of damage, but only a little bit. We're still pretty healthy here at 34. And now to combine with the black cat that we've already picked up, I think that the water wraith is probably the way to go, though I could certainly see taking Princess White and Crafty. Princess White builds to a treasure, Crafty is good with treasures, which is good with Hoard Dragon because you want treasures on the hero. I actually wind up picking up the Crafty plus the water wraith. Again, that could have been Crafty plus Water Wraith or Water Wraith plus Golden Chicken. Both of those are about the same, though Crafty does potentially have some synergy. And we already have two pairs. We've got a pair of Baby Root and a pair of Mad Mim, so reasonable chance we are going to complete a triple on next turn. And it's worth the 1 gold to be able to take a look for that. We've got another pair in the shop here, a pair of doublies. And doubly isn't that bad when you also consider the Baby Root and the Mad Mim alongside it, plus we'd have the Candy Rain to pump it up, but I'm not really feeling it. I'm just going to wind up picking up a Black Cat for some additional econ, as well as the Wicked Witch for a little bit more power. I thought this would be a strong way to go. We can also use the Wicked Witch to support the Water Wraith and give that 11 health, which is pretty strong here for turn 5. And ultimately, I just thought this would be a fine way to go. The main reason that I take the Black Cat as well is because I know that after a roll, I'm not going to be able to afford anything else this turn. And we do get to put the Candy Rain on the kitty, so that does help a little bit as well, our chances of having it slay. And it is going to slay up against his opponent. So yeah, this works out pretty well for us, all things considered. We are just barely not going to have the stats to tie or win this combat, so that is a little bit of a bummer, but we will pick up our second Water Wraith here, and then I'm also somewhat interested in picking up Cindy, and that builds into a Tier 3 treasure as well, those Tier 3 treasures being pretty strong. I'll fire off Luna's Grace just to get some additional stats on this turn, and then I'll roll 2 more times and lock onto a third copy of Water Wraith. I definitely wasn't planning on having Water Wraith be our first triple this game. I thought I'd potentially hit on the Baby Root or the Mad Mim, but we'll settle for a Tier 4 treasure going into 4.0. That'll be fine. And depending on what we get, that can dictate some of the course of the game for us. If we find like Moonsong Horn, that's certainly good on this board. Or not Moonsong Horn, Horn of Olympus, the other tier 4 horn. Horn of Olympus, when we have a backline filled with supports moving into 4.0, that is pretty good, but we still will we'll play it by ear. We'll see what we get here. And actually, I'll just say I did spoil it a little bit because we actually get Moonsong Horn. That is actually the horn that we wind up getting here. No problem up against Cursed King. Let's pick up this Water Wraith, and we see that our options are Reduplicator, Ring of Rage, and Moonsong Horn. So definitely going to go for the horn, especially because we've got 3 tier 3 treasures that we're building on with Cindy, Mad Mim, and the Baby Root. We could also pick up the Wizard's Familiars here if we're looking for another tier 3 treasure, or if we're just looking for some Wizard's Familiars, because we find Crystal Ball plus Moonsong Horn isn't quite going to be enough to fully let us combo off, but it is still going to be pretty strong. And definitely going to be enough that we are going to want to start to pick up some Wizards Familiars and get familiar with some more mages going on in this game. We already knew it was going to be a mage game, and I talked about that at the beginning. The ability of Hoard Dragon, I really do think, to access tier 3 treasures easier than basically any hero outside of Wonder Waddle and potentially Pied Piper, and then of course Peter Pants, I think is a really, really powerful aspect of the hero that gives it some really, really strong high roll potential, as we saw 2 days ago in my community gaming finals rounds, as well as in this game right here. So this was kind of prep for that community gaming tournament. As you'll see, we're going to cast 2 more spells that's going to allow us to activate Cindy. And I'd rather have the cash after seeing what options Cindy gives us. I would have considered a treasure map and potentially some other things, but definitely not super interested in those other options that it gave us there. I will True Love's Kiss onto Cindy, and that's going to give us a Lucky, and then we will Mix-a-Wizzle that and take a look for something more. But we are just going to round this out by casting a whole bunch more spells and then finding ourselves with a Wizard's Familiar. And again, nothing super crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and skip, and then that'll just allow us to roll a few more times. This board's really tricky for how we fit everything in, but ultimately this is what I go with. It's just awkward here having the River Wish Mermaid in slot 7, but ultimately it's fine. And then I end this turn by picking up some XP, so that way we can try to find a Aeon as soon as possible. So that's kind of the idea here. If we can find an Aeon super quick, then that's going to help fill in the gaps of the fact that we only have a Moonsong Horn and not quite a hat. So now we are level 5. We could pick up the pair of Wicked Witches, but I'd really just like to spend as much cash as possible looking for Aeon. I do consider that there is a Lancelot here as well, and Lance plus the Mad Mim gets us really, really close to a tier 6 treasure. However, I just want to prioritize finding Aeon as soon as possible. I think that that's going to give us the best chances of just straight up winning this lobby, and that is why I am pursuing that so heavily here. So even if we have to fully roll down to find it, I do think that it is worth it. I'm going to pass by a Wizard's Familiar and eventually land on another Wizard's Familiar as well as an Aeon. Super happy about this pickup that we can find Aeon on what is still really early in the game. This is technically 4.2 for everybody else. We're up 2 XP right now. So I'm very happy to be able to pick up an Aeon. We get to support it by either the Mad Mim or the Wicked Witch, probably the Mad Mim because that's +6 attack. And then if it can start slaying, then we are hat balling and feeling really, really good about our chances to fully just win this game, despite it being a Storybook Brawl 99 lobby. If you are a Hoard Dragon and you're hat-balling and you're doing okay, again, as we just saw in the community gaming tournament, there are a lot of ways to transition that into some insane late game power as well, and that is what we are going to look to do in this one. Not going to worry about copycat. We've got a backline full of mages, so we're actually doing okay on the mage front. I do consider keeping around this kitty cut purse, and I actually do go for it. I feed Lucky to the Kraken so I can keep the kitty alive, and then I'm going to shard this Shadow Assassin a few times here, hoping to flip that into a better mage, and then I will pick up a Baba Yaga to end the turn. Not quite going to... I'm looking for Spellweaver from this Queen of Hearts, and not going to find it, but that's fine. We still have a 31, 37, and it's good to just continually Shard of the Ice Queen this unit, because once we eventually do find that Spellweaver, that's going to be really, really strong for us. Aeon is going to slay, and our second Aeon is also going to slay. So our spells cost 5 less on this next turn going into 6.0. We'll take a little bit of damage, but you know what? Absolutely free spells. Not going to be too upset with that one. We'll gain some more health as well as gaining some more stats onto all of our Aeons. And for one coin, I do feel like I have to cast this Croc spell, specifically because if we can cast 3 of them over the course of a few turns, that will give us a tier 7 treasure, and that is just really, really powerful. So I just pick up a Humpty Dumpty and I put that inside a Croc. A little bit silly, but I thought that it was better than just not casting it. 3 coin to pick up a level 6 unit is a really, really cheap rate. So I am going to go for that, and then I'm going to pick up some more spells here, just rolling along. I do pick up a Spellweaver, and then also pick up Magic Beans. Magic Beans, very good, as well as Hermes Boots when you are on an Aeon Ball strategy. Those can definitely work out well for you. And then I move my Aeons around a little bit so that we are making use of the Evil Queen, the Evil Witch, rather. And both Aeons going to slay again, so our spells will once more cost 5 less this turn, and that is going to give us just a lot of options, a lot of potential to cast like Crocs and things. I am going to go ahead and pick up a Spellweaver, especially considering I locked onto it, and I do think that it's worth picking up some Spellweavers here. Could potentially find Forking Rod or something, so level 4 spells are not out of the question by any means. We're also going to True Love's Kiss our upgraded unit all the way up to a Jormungand this turn, which is actually pretty good considering these Aeons are slaying. That is just going to be a massive, massive character for us. It won't probably make the end game boards. We can still shard it. We can Shard of the Ice Queen on this Jormungand and potentially find some other sweet stuff with that. But I think that this is a really, really strong start to the game. Despite there only being 53 players left in the lobby. I'm feeling really big with both of these Aeons. Small thing, I put my bigger health Aeon second, so that way it has the potential to get attacked into, survive, and still slay itself. So that's just a small optimization thing. It is going to be the other Aeon that gets attacked into, though, which is going to mean that we only get 3 off of our spells this turn. Though we're still going to get an easy win up against this Merlin. Hit them for 15, down to 15, and now we are back to cast. And I'll pick up another Wizard's Familiar, pick up another Spellweaver, and we get to pick up Forking Rod here as well. So this is really sweet. We are basically out of slots, though, on this board. But we are getting now double casts on all of our spells, which is really, really cool. I'm going to go ahead and pick up another Baba Yaga. Since we're also working with this Jormungand, it just seemed too right to do. And then we do have another Spellweaver in the shop. There's a lot of options here. I wound up selling off my Croc to pick up a Spellweaver and then ending the turn with a double-casted Kidnap. Maybe that was wrong. I think that at this point in the game, I should potentially just be considering what treasures I want to build into, because we are Hoard Dragon, and I don't need any more tier 4 treasures. The only treasures that I really care about at this point are levels 6 and 7. We can find 9th Book of Merlin, we can find Mimic Chest, we could find the World Tree, we could find Black Prism, we could find Holy Grail. All of these things would be interesting for us. Mirror Mirror as well. I don't know if I said that, but all of these things could be interesting for us. We can see that this Hoard Dragon has got the World Tree with the 9th Book of Merlin, so that's kind of what we could potentially look to put together later on in Exodia comp of sorts. And hopefully we are going to be strong enough to take out this Hoard Dragon. We are. It is going to be close, but that is really good because they had 9th Book of Merlin plus World Tree, so they could have been a scary opponent to face down the line, and I am super happy to take them out of this lobby. We're going to pick up a Pandora's Box as our tier 6 treasure here, which is really cool. That'll pick up a tier 7 treasure for us next turn. And like I just said, there are a bunch of tier 7 treasures that I am excited to go for. Wind up going for a Genie's Witch, which casts a Knighthood on Baby Bear. Didn't really need that one, so that was a little bit awkward, but we will just sell off some of these bears and roll here after casting a For Glory to end the turn. That'll give us 2 tier 6 units if we win this combat. Basically, we're just looking for Scions of the Storm at this point, though we'll potentially consider some other things depending on what this Pandora's Box turns into, because there's a lot of things that can still hit and just be really strong for us. Unfortunately, our upgraded Aeon is going to get attacked into, which means our spells only cost 2 less this turn. That should still be enough. Though it is, of course, a little bit of a bummer, and we will say thank you to Geppetto by knocking them out of the lobby here because of Cat's Call. That was the other thing that came out of our Genie's Wish. And then what comes out of the Pandora's Box is going to be Magic Sword plus 100. You'll notice that was not one of the tier 7 treasures that I named a few moments ago. I'm not super excited to find a Magic Sword plus 100 here. It's not terribly useful, and we'll probably replace it if we can find any other treasures down the line. We are going to wind up replacing our Wizard's Familiar with a Good Boy. We get to Mix-a-Wizzle that and then True Love's Kiss that this turn to grab an upgraded Good Boy with a whole bunch of extra stats on it. So that's going to be pretty sweet for us. I'm not going to worry about picking up more Good Boys or anything like that. I'll just cast the spells that we do see on the Good Boy where applicable. I do throw some spells on the Aeon, and then the other thing that I consider is like maybe I want to backline my upgraded Aeon, which is good, so that way the Good Boy can throw some stats onto that. That seems like it could be good for us. We'll see how that goes. Princess Peep, we also True Love's Kiss into, so we'll put that in the front line, and then Good Boy, we'll see, we'll give a bunch of stats to this backline Aeon. So our spells are going to cost 4 less this turn, at least. Depends. This Aeon might be able to slay multiple times if my opponent had some more tokens there, but unfortunately we are only going to get 2 slays, so our spells cost 4 less this turn, which is still going to be enough to allow us to cast a whole bunch of spells on this Good Boy. Don't really have an insane use for the Knighthood here, so just going to roll past that. Wind up just casting a bunch of spells. I should also be considering picking up some, like, Aeon here. Oh, maybe I don't. I thought I didn't. And I might even roll past this Scion of the Storm too. Both of those things I think are a little bit of a mistake, because I think, like I said, at this point in the game with Hoard Dragon, you really want to be looking for, okay, how do I make this board stronger by finding some more treasures, especially replacing this Magic Sword plus 100. It is cool that we can make use of it with Good Boy and get some nice value there, but otherwise certainly a little bit awkward. We'll get a little bit more stats and cast a few more spells to end the turn, wind up moving around a few more things by the end of it. I decide I don't want to put Good Boy in the Magic Sword slot. I just want to get in with Aeon in that slot. And this opponent with a barrage of lightning dragons, they're going to trade with our front line, and then unfortunately we are not going to be able to battle through this Jormungand, and we're not going to be able to slay at all. They are absolutely massive. We're not going to die, but we're not going to be doing too good either. Good Boy is our last unit dead, so it pumps absolutely nothing and is ultimately just a pretty awkward turn for us. I wind up casting a few more spells here, but ultimately not super useful because we don't have any discounts on our spells this turn. So yeah, a little bit awkward. I should really be using this turn just to roll and pick up some more units. that's effectively what I wind up doing at the end of the turn here, casting a Kidnap under a Forking Rod. That's going to allow us to steal something twice, which could certainly help us build towards a tier 6 treasure or a tier 7 treasure in a meaningful way. So not the worst thing in the world. And hopefully Good Boy now with 2 good units in the back line. We do have to worry about that Lightning Dragon opponent and be mindful of when we are playing them. I was paying attention to that in real time, not paying attention to that now as I'm doing the commentary, but we are going to get that Slay with Aeon. That is going to be really good for us. And my opponent with a really cool comp, they've got a Spear plus a Court Wizard and an Oni Tyrant, as well as a whatever that rock is called, which makes all of their royals into monsters, so all of that is cool. It doesn't make the Court Wizard into a monster though, so that part's awkward. We did steal an upgraded unit, which means that we are not going to be able to just make an easy treasure out of those things, so that part is a little bit awkward, but we will move this Wizard's Familiar up the curve here, and then we wind up getting a Scion of the Storm from the Mix-a-Wizzle. So we've got a bunch of stats this turn. We're up into the top 8 of the game, so this is going pretty nicely. And now is when I start to pick up some more units to start trying to build for some bigger treasures, which is nice. I don't think I take this Spellweaver here. I think I just recognize that that would be a waste of gold, yeah. And then I wind up making actually a rather big mistake. So I make the Baba Yaga good, that part's good, and then I crock the Good Boy. And just crocking the Good Boy in itself isn't the worst thing in the world, but you'll see there with my mouse over, I should have crocked the Scion of the Storm. That Scion of the Storm is temporary. It is just from a Mix-a-Wizzle. If we had put it inside the crock, we would have permanently been able to keep this Scion, and the fact that I missed that is really just a huge loss for us because we won't get those massive stats. We won't get to take those with us, but we still have the Good Boy. It's in the crock. It's fine. It's just not the best thing in the world. Let's see if we can find another Scion of the Storm, get rid of this Lordy, or get rid of some of this other stuff here. That's going to give us a P, and then I'll wind up transforming that a few more times, trying to find something a little bit better, something a little bit more useful, but definitely a little bit regrettable that we don't have the Scion of the Storm inside the crock instead. I will go for an Evil Twin onto Aeon. That's going to give us 9th Book of Merlin, which is pretty good. That's definitely better than the Magic Sword plus 100, so I'm happy about that. And then I'm just going to keep sharding this backline tier 6 unit, as well as casting a few more spells to end out the turn. The other mistake of getting rid of the Good Boy or putting it inside of a crock is now I can't pump it with these sugar and spices and things, so that's a little bit awkward as well, but it is still an absolutely massive Good Boy, so I'm not super worried. My opponent doing some good work there with upgraded Copycat plus upgraded Monster Book. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that with a Pigomorph and then bring out the Good Boy, and that should be enough to end things in our favor. They do have a Phoenix Feather, but we are still going to get the win and another Slay onto Aeon, so some discount on our spells going forward as well. There was no tier 3 treasure that I would have taken there, but not even treasure map, so we are just going to go ahead and skip that. And then we find another croc spell, and I'm kind of out of things to cast it on. I kind of like keeping my trees as trees because they have start of battle effects. Could have cast it on the golden chicken though. That's worth more cash as a golden chicken, so I'd like to keep that as well. Just wind up throwing the Spellweaver in there. Maybe that wasn't the best idea, but it was fine. So we go for that, and then yeah, just gonna cast as many more spells as we can before the turn is over. Do wind up losing a spell there to the Shop Bug, and I also don't really want a shard of the Ice Queen because we have this tree combo. We've got an Ashwood Elm upgraded plus a Burning Tree upgraded, and then the Good Boy will also hit on this Ashwood Elm, so or Burning Tree rather, and by that I mean Burning Beard. So for that reason, I kind of like just keeping this Burning Beard around. It winds up being a ton of stats. By the way, we are in the top 4 now of this lobby, so we are doing really good. And here's Good Boy to bring us home. That is going to be a ton more stats. I think we actually might, no, wow, we do win that combat. It's really close. We bring our opponent down to 2. A really, really close fight. Now we get to Evil Twin something twice. I'm going to go for the Ashwood Elm because, again, this builds into a tier 7 treasure. That's basically all I'm looking for at this point in the game. And I wound up not even casting the Mix-a-Wizzle there just because I don't want to mess up anything. Like, I don't want anything to get Mix-a-Wizzled. I like having this exact board. From here, I am going to find the 3rd copy of Ashwood Elm, and we've got some real choices. Black Prism, World Tree, Mirror Mirror, 3 of those things that I named previously. Mirror Mirror, not going to be great because we don't have the Scions of the Storm. Black Prism could have been better earlier, however, we grabbed it so late that I'm not super in love with it. I wind up picking up World Tree, especially with a Court Wizard in this shop. I thought that that was really sweet, and you could see my shop kind of, or my board kind of bugged out a little bit there. I wasn't sure which of my Crocs was the good one. I should have just sold the Spellweaver that was in my hand, but I wanted to get this Court Wizard on the battlefield because anytime something gets attacked into, it is going to get a bonus attack, and it's going to get a whole bunch of bonus stats at the start of combat because it is also a tree. So that is going to be enough to allow us to beat this Mordred here, and we are on to the finals up against this King Midas that we just beat up on but 2-3 turns ago, so I'm feeling pretty good about our odds here. We will cast a few more spells before moving along. I want to give my Court Wizard a little bit more health, a little bit more oomph. I'll also give it a few more points of attack, but especially I want to give it health, so any spells that I find I'm casting on Court Wizard, just so that way it has a little bit more survivability. And I'll finish off with a Hi-Ho. It gives us a random dwarf, and it gives all of our characters +1 attack, or +1/+1, because all of our characters are also dwarves. You will always get something that is printed as a dwarf there, but that is still definitely really interesting to note. I wound up playing a 2nd Ashwood Elm. I could also have seen just playing the Spellweaver in the backline just because it's a large ranged unit and just saying, you know what, I'm going to have enough attack on Court Wizard that we're going to be good. But we actually are going to need some scams. My opponent with absolutely massive Echo Woods here, upgraded Echo Wood plus another Echo Wood plus Round Table and some owls that have been going to work for some time now, is going to make this board really, really strong for my opponent. We see that every health point matters as Court Wizard barely survives for another second with 1 HP, but it's not going to be enough to win the combat. At this point, I'm putting all health that I can find onto my absolutely massive Ashwood Elm in the front row to try to just give us as much stats as possible, but my opponent with that huge Echo Wood, it's going to take a lot to battle through that. So this one's going to be tough. We are going to try to do it though. Can we make our mages big enough? My mages are already big enough, bigger than they were in the thumbnail, and you can see that I do decide to put in the Spellweaver here, neglecting to play my other Ashwood Elm and just play a full upgraded or just play the what am I even going for here? I don't know. I'm trying to cast a whole bunch of spells in the last few moments here and think about all of that through, but we have some massive trees. I could have potentially cut the Burning Beard, but I thought the Court Wizard would be enough here. Let's see. That Smite is really good. We take out their unit with our spell, so that is really good for us, and we get the scam onto the Echo Wood, and that is basically all that we needed to do. Now, this other Echo Wood does still have a ton of health, but we are going to be able to battle through it with our huge ranged units. So really, really crazy game, a lot of fun, and we get a Super Crown and get a win in Storybook Brawl 99, which is always really sweet too. Yeah, this was a really, really powerful one. I think that it definitely shows off the strength of Hoard Dragon, and always sweet to grab a Super Crown in Storybook Brawl 99 with some absolutely massive mages and a crazy powerful endgame comp. A little bit chaotic, wasn't played super optimally at the end, but you can never play it 100% perfectly when you just have so much to concentrate on in that end game. That is going to be it for me today though, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm No Lex Given. Peace. This week's giveaway word is level. Each week I use a new code word. That's just to distinguish who's commenting for which week, and the reason I have you guys say a code word, that way I can tell who is interested in the dust and who's just commenting to say hi or that they enjoyed the video, stuff like that. You can definitely do both, just make sure you include this week's code word. You can also enter as many times as you want per week, once per video. You can go back, leave comments on old videos, just make sure they include this week's word, but there's no limit to how many times you can enter, other than, I guess, the amount of videos that I have. And I've been putting out a bunch of Storybook Brawl videos since last October, so yeah, there are a bunch of opportunities to enter to win. You can go through the backlog and watch some of those, but it's been really fun to receive the comments from you guys, get that level of interaction. You can also come join me on my Discord, which I'm trying to grow right now, just so that I have feedback on my titles and thumbnails and things like that, but I also have some fun ideas for special game modes that I could make work with lobbies of players in the future. So feel free to check that out as well. There is a link to that in the video description, and help me climb on my way to 1,000 subscribers. I'm getting there slowly but surely, and thank you guys all very much for your support.